March 22, 1937. Lucky Luciano kidnaps the one man he thinks will force Bumpy Johnson to kneel, his younger brother. Luciano believes he's created leverage. What he's really started is a countdown. Because the moment Bumpy discovers where his brother is being held, the clock stops being about negotiation and starts being about survival. 60 seconds. That's all it takes for 7 men to die inside a Little Italy warehouse. Not captured, not spared, erased. And in that single minute, the rules between Harlem and the Italian Mafia are rewritten forever. Before we go any further, understand this wasn't a random kidnapping, and it wasn't about money. What you're about to hear explains why one decision turned the most powerful mob boss in America into a man forced to apologize. If you want the real Underworld stories they never taught you, tap the like button right now. Subscribe to American Underworld. Because this channel doesn't deal in myths, only consequences. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from, Harlem, New York, or anywhere this story just grabbed you. Because what Lucky Luciano thought was control became the biggest mistake of his career. Thomas Johnson was never supposed to be part of this story. He didn't run numbers, didn't carry a gun, didn't owe anyone favors. At 26, Thomas lived a quiet life in Harlem, an accountant for legitimate businesses, a man who believed education and honest work were his way out of the shadows his brother lived in. That difference mattered, because while Bumpy Johnson moved with protection, Thomas moved like any other man. No bodyguards. No warnings. No idea he'd already been selected. To Lucky Luciano, that made Thomas perfect. Not a gangster, not guarded, not expecting trouble. A clean life, used as leverage in a dirty war. Thomas wasn't part of the Underworld, but the Underworld was already closing in on him, and he would realize it only when it was far too late. It happened in 11 seconds. Thomas walked out of a barber shop on 131st Street. The sun was high, the streets were busy, and then a black Packard pulled up. 4 men stepped out. No warnings, no threats, just hands grabbing him, shoving him into the car. Witnesses froze, helpless. The engine roared, and in the blink of an eye, Thomas Johnson was gone. The car vanished, swallowed by the streets of Manhattan. Every second that ticked by was a countdown, because this wasn't random chaos. This wasn't a robbery or a mugging. This was precise, professional, an Italian mob signature stamped in muscle and steel, and the message was clear. Cross my world, and the consequences are immediate. Then the phone rang. Bumpy Johnson picked up. On the other end, a calm, measured voice, smooth, Italian, confident. No hesitation, no emotion. "Mr. Johnson," it said, "we have your brother. He is alive. He is unharmed. If you want him back, meet with Mr. Luciano tonight at 8 alone, unarmed. Do exactly as we say, and your brother goes home." Click. Silence. Every second stretched. Luciano believed he had control. He thought Bumpy would count the hours, weigh the risk, and negotiate. He didn't know Bumpy Johnson. Family wasn't business. Family wasn't leverage. Family was the line you never cross. And Bumpy was about to prove that no negotiation, no compromise, and no waiting could match what he was willing to do to protect his own. Bumpy sat behind his desk. 30 seconds. 60. Time slowed. His crew fidgeted, uneasy. "Boss, they said 8 o'clock. We're supposed to wait. Go alone, unarmed." Bumpy didn't flinch. He didn't speak. He only looked at the phone, at the silence on the line, at the clock ticking toward Luciano's deadline. Then he made the decision that would terrify every man in the Italian Mafia. "We're not waiting," he said. "We're going now." His crew stared, shocked, fear mixed with respect, but Bumpy's eyes were cold, controlled, certain. "They're about to learn what happens when you take my family. No negotiation, no compromise, no excuses. only action, only consequence. Bumpy's crew hit the streets immediately. Every contact, every eye on the neighborhood, used. 2 street kids who'd seen the Packard remembered the license plate. Jerome, the photographer with police connections, ran it. A trail emerged. Not rumors, facts. The car belonged to one of Luciano's shell companies, a warehouse in Little Italy. Every second counted. Every minute Thomas remained inside was borrowed time. Bumpy didn't speak of hesitation. He didn't consider fear. He focused only on the location. By 3:47, the warehouse was pinpointed. 4 men had dragged Thomas inside. 7 guards waited, confident, unaware that the hunter was already closing in. This was more than a rescue. This was the setup for a storm, and the storm was about to hit in less than an hour. Bumpy didn't rush the attack. He refined it. 7 men, not more. Not fewer. Everyone chosen for a reason. And this wasn't a crowd, it was a mechanism. Weapons were checked, heavy, final, unforgiving. Nothing defensive, nothing meant to scare. 3 entrances, front, side, rear, each time to the second. 1 man climbed to a rooftop across the street. High ground, clear sight lines. Anyone who ran wouldn't get far. No shouting, no last-minute debate, just watches synchronized, breaths counted, muscles waiting. Because this wasn't a rescue team. This was a message delivery system. And the message was already written. It just hadn't been delivered yet. 4:26 p.m. The front door explodes inward. At the exact same second, steel crashes through the side entrance, and the back door gives way. No warning, no confusion about what this is. Automatic gunfire fills the warehouse, sharp and deafening. Crates splinter. Men drop where they stand. There's no time to run, no time to think. This isn't a firefight, it's a collapse. 1 guard tries to reach the office. He doesn't make it 3 steps. Inside, panic sets in. A desperate decision. A gun pressed to Thomas Johnson's head. A final gamble. Leverage. The guard shouts, threatens, believes this still works. But Bumpy keeps walking. He doesn't slow, doesn't hesitate. Because family wasn't leverage to Bumpy Johnson. It was a death sentence. The trigger never saves the guard. The room goes silent. Outside, 1 last man tries to escape through a window and never leaves the building. 60 seconds. That's all it takes. 7 men lie dead. Thomas is alive, and the message has been delivered. Clearly, permanently, without appeal. Bumpy knelt beside the body of the man in charge, calmly, deliberately. He placed a single white card on the chest. No threats, no warnings. Just 3 words. Touch my family again. See what happens. Then he and his crew disappeared into the streets, leaving the carnage behind. 2 minutes, 7 men dead. 1 brother safe. A message written in action, not words. Back in Manhattan, Lucky Luciano picked up the phone. Silence first, then the voice on the line. "Boss, we have a problem. The warehouse on Mulberry Street. Bumpy Johnson hit it. 7 men. Dead." Luciano froze. 7 men. Dead. In his territory. In broad daylight. The calculation that had seemed perfect, shattered. The leverage he thought he had, gone. He realized, in that moment, that Bumpy Johnson could not be controlled. He could not be intimidated. He could not be bargained with. A single phone call had turned the hunter into the hunted. And every mob boss in New York would soon learn the same lesson. Family wasn't negotiable. Family wasn't leverage. Family was a line. Cross it, and you die. The next day, Bumpy and Luciano met. Not in a dark alley, not in secret, in a public place. Grand Central Terminal, 2 powerful men, 2 deadly reputations, sitting across from each other like businessmen. But the stakes were blood deep. Luciano spoke at first. Calm. Measured. An apology. Taking Thomas was a mistake. 7 men dead. Harlem. Off limits. For 20 years, that boundary held. No Italian mob dared touch Harlem. No one threatened Bumpy's family. Violence had ended the war before it even began. Lucky Luciano kidnapped a brother. Bumpy Johnson answered in 60 seconds. 7 bodies carried that message across New York, and nobody ever crossed that line again. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't luck. This was power communicated clearly, decisively, permanently. If you want more true Underworld stories like this, subscribe to American Underworld. Like the video. Share it. Comment below where you're watching from. Because this isn't just history. This is how power really works.